everyone, my name is Selene and I am a grade school social studies teacher from Xavier School in the Philippines. Today, I will be talking about how we can use multimedia in assessing student learning. Because of the global spread of the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of teachers, including myself, have found themselves having to adapt to teaching classes online. The following are some of the ways that I've incorporated multimedia to be able to assess my students' learning amidst this situation. One of the ways that I love assessing my students as a social studies teacher is to have them do a quick role play and put themselves in the shoes of news reporters who have to tell us about what's new, what's going on, and what they think about it.
This article is about the Philippine Navy installing 11 sovereign markers to identify the areas that are part of Philippines territory. When I read this article, I felt proud because our Navy is protecting our territory.
Journaling is one of the great and wonderful ways that you can capture student ideas in the raw. So you can have them do free-form writing, they can incorporate pictures or audio and video, it's up to them. Or if you have younger students, you might want to give them a guide and give them prompts that they can work on, and then they can just fill in some of the blanks. Here we have an example of a postcard themed journal where our students showed us the different traditions and practices that they have in their family, as well as how and why they practice them. Another example is this one where they talk about their duties and responsibilities as students, members of their family, and the community. One of my all-time favorites would have to be the creative virtual gallery. For this one, I actually let my students pick what they wanted to do, whether that's sing, draw, create a cartoon, a comic strip, or whatever it is that they wanted to express themselves in. And the key here is just that I gave them a theme to work on. So everybody had to adhere to the theme, but whatever way they wanted to express themselves in and show their ideas in worked.
You must honor the Philippines.
Protect the Philippines like me. You are loyal to the Philippines.
Using multimedia has helped my students be able to express their ideas more confidently. If you're looking into using multimedia assessments as well, I would suggest that you look into your students' interests and what type of learners they are. From there, you can choose a form of media that best suits your needs and theirs, or you can always give them the option to choose what works best for them. But remember that regardless of what media you choose, always anchor it on your goals and the skills that you want to develop in your students.
And now we also go to the e-twins.
Well, that was absolutely wonderful. Thank you. And I love the call to action that you kind of included. And I love the diversity in which each of you shared different tools, different platforms, different ideas, and different ways of thinking with this. I think we'll start off with the most obvious of all is the standardized testing, right? A lot of people are like, but I have to be focused on the test. I have to, teach this content. I have to do those things. And we do see the scores, the data you showed is something that I think a lot of people who do this work, I'm sure Edward and Selene, you would agree with this as well. So what advice might you give to people to help overcome that fear? What's one thing they might be able to do so that they can kind of see, oh, wow, okay, yes, this is happening. What would your advice be, or what has your experience been with your students? Maybe Edward, we'll start with you, and then E-Twins, and then Selene. Really, really love appreciate the different perspectives and connections you're helping make for people. Selene, would love to hear from you what advice you might give to a teacher that's feeling a little bit nervous, is very excited and inspired, but maybe a little nervous.
All right. So first of all, I'd like to say hello first and mabuhay to all my fellow Filipinos who are watching this right now. Thank you for tuning in. So for those who are nervous to try these things out, I mean, when we are approaching change, it's something we can't help, that we will be nervous about facing it. And it's just that when you try it and then if you fail, that's okay. You have to try again until such time that you're comfortable with it. And you mentioned earlier about the standardized test. I think what we need to remember is that we're moving past the age of boxing our students into the pen and paper type of assessment. and we're moving to more holistic, more authentic ways of really assessing them. And we have to remember that our students, not all of them are good at writing. Not all of them will probably be able to memorize their textbooks or the information there. But what's more important is that we help them develop their other skills as well. Just like what Andrew and the Iggy twins mentioned, is that we have to teach them how to speak, how to collaborate, how to communicate, things like that. And by using all these tools that were mentioned and multimedia and even social media nowadays, it's a big help to really helping our students come out of their boxes and really be able to express themselves more confidently and be able to develop those skills that they need beyond school, the skills that they will need once they like go into work or just their day-to-day lives. What I think is a good way to also reduce cheating is to actually provide the resources to the students. So for example, for me in social studies, I've been teaching my kids about the internal migration. And recently this year, we talked about how that internal migration can affect the spread of COVID, for example, in the country. And so what I did is I gave them the statistics. These are the statistics of how many people are sick. These are the protocols in place. But what does it mean? You know, so they have that information and they don't have to it's good if we can have them research it on their own. But for me, teaching young kids, I provide them that information, and then I ask more of application questions of what does this mean? What can we do about it? So things like that, where they can apply what they know or apply their knowledge, where it's not just learning about the content or the information, but actually knowing what it's for. And I'd like to touch also on a question that you had earlier about how it's changed my students. So one thing I noticed is with, for example, for multimedia assessments, is my students who usually don't participate in class, who are very quiet during our discussions, they come out sometimes with the most creative artworks or the most creative cartoons or songs. And it's amazing to see how they can actually apply what they know in different ways other than how we usually test them, which is by pen and paper or all these written works.
Yeah, I know I as a student would have appreciated verbal feedback way more than seeing a paper full of red, right? That just incites sort of this anxiety. How about Selene or eTwins? Anything from you about advice for teachers thinking about how do I assess when students are creating different things?
I like to point out that the reality of having differentiated learning activities is that it does take time out of the teachers to really measure that and to evaluate that. But the payoff in student achievements is so much great, so much better, and it really makes it worth the effort. And I guess one of the great ways that you can assess it, having different activities and students having different outputs, is to construct a rubrics with really clear descriptors that are targeting the specific goals that you want them to, or specific skills that you want them to develop. So that way, regardless of what output they submit to you, if you check the descriptors and you check the rubrics, then it makes it easier also to have everybody measured on the same scale, regardless of what they have submitted to you or what they created.
Thank you so much, all of you, for sharing. The chat, you can tell, is just blowing up while you were all speaking. And I think, just to kind of, honor, I think what a lot of you shared, this idea that, how do we take this experience that we've had now, seeing learners learn in different ways, and honor that moving forward, even when we all return back to the classroom. So thank you so much. It was really wonderful.
Please also accept my thanks, Selene, Edward, the eTwins, for this really important segment that you've contributed towards. I can tell you from the comments, and Saba is right, you may have been busy in your presentations, but just the quality of responses we're getting is just humongous. Just like in the other segments that we've had, as I'm really pleased that you're able to shine a spotlight as to how you are actually tackling this challenge of assessing online, especially in this last year. So please accept our thanks, and we look forward to our continued dialogue as we go on. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.